Okay, wonderful. All right. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions. What qualities of the tag did you use to group yourselves the very first round when you had the red, the white, and the red, the yellow, and the blue? So one time you did shapes, one time you did color, size, okay? So that was pretty easy to do because the variations stood out very, very much so, right? Okay, so first round you used, I think, what was it that you did the first time?
Circle, blue circle, big.
So what did you use the first round?
Color.
You used the color, you grouped with the color, and then the next time round you did the size, and then you did the shape. Okay. How many rounds do you think you would have been able to play? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. We pretty much exhausted all what we could do given the dimensions we had to work with. And why? Because there wasn't much variation in the tags, right? There wasn't much variation. Now, when we did the second round, now there we had a whole lot more variation, right? So basically there, in the real world, how easy was it in the second time round? Was it as easy as the first with the second group of tags?
No.
No. Why not?
There's more variation.
The variation. What kind of variations did we see with the second tag? The materials we used were different. The shapes were very random.
Some had color, some didn't.
Some had color, some didn't. The colors were different. The shapes were different. The materials were different. Now, which set of tags do you think is more representative of the real world? The second one. Okay, the second one is much more so, you know, amongst us, we see those differences very clearly, okay? So basically, we are more like the second set of tags, and from the outside, we could see very different things. Now, what would we need to do in order to build a rapport and find out our similarities? Because on the surface, we may look very different, but given enough interest and interaction, and we have to talk to each other. We have to communicate with one another, and in so doing, we find out more of our similarities. And if you look at friendships or relationships, they go beyond the surface. So on the outside, they maybe look very different to people, but once a relationship is built, you start finding out, you know, the common factors. And so this exercise is basically aims at just highlighting this, that the world is the varieties and the differences amongst people are very, very many, but yet we find a common characteristic. Let me ask you, a personal friend, like think about your best friend or a friend, any friend. And what is it that binds your friendship? What is it that forges the friendship? What you have in common, right? Your likes, your dislikes, your interests, maybe your experiences, maybe your background, maybe your religious faith. So there are so many characteristics, and around our lives, we just have to look and think for a minute, all our acquaintances, and you see that you have relationships with people, with very many people, and the common force that binds you is very different. Like, there is a common binding force in this room. We have a common interest, right? And we all come from very different backgrounds. And on the surface, you know, people may never think that we have anything in common, but there is that force that unites us, which is this experience, this classroom experience, right? So that's how relationships are formed in the real world, and we need to, you know, stop making judgments on things just on the outside of things and people. Don't judge people, because you never know when you peel the person, when you open up to the person, the treasure you will find. And it's amazing how you can make a connection. So that was the purpose of this exercise. I hope it made the point to you. It's a very simple one. And I do apologize. I swear I counted 28 tags before coming. Any remarks you want to make about the tag? Yes, ma'am.
With the second game, or with the first as well, you know, initially we drawn to those people that we have the most in common with.
You go on the surface. What do I see there?
Right. But then when the dynamics are change up, when you're in an environment where you don't feel like you relate to other people, it's just kind of harder then to find your way, kind of where you fit in. And you just kind of have to make yourself fit, because after all the variables were gone, I had to kind of make myself fit into a group, which is just like, you know, life.
Exactly. That's an excellent point, excellent remark. Right on the, you know, on the mark with what you just said. That it takes time to forge a relationship, especially, and to find the commonality. And when things on the surface don't appear, there is a common link. You have to dig harder until you find it. And that's the extra time you took with the second set of tags. Somebody else had their hand up.
Yes, I just want to say thank you. I'm a preschool teacher. I just want to say thank you for giving me another thing that I can do, another activity.
Absolutely, you're very welcome. You know, the fact that we learning by doing, this approach to experiential learning is much more effective than lecturing, where actually people experience a situation. I'm a big fan of that, so you're very welcome. Anybody else that would like to make a comment? Yes?
Mine is, when you first had us do it, and you said based off the tag, I just thought, like for me, I just said, well, everybody has a chord, so it doesn't matter which group I go to. I can just go to a group that has a chord, and it doesn't matter what's on the tag. And then for my second one, I said, well, everybody's in a little plastic piece. So I just went to any group that had a plastic piece.
I saw some of you that were random. I mean, they obviously didn't belong. And you know what? Some people attach to groups that they have nothing to do.
Yeah, I just forced myself on because I said, that's a chord. And this is a chord. And this is
Okay, well, don't feel bad about yourself. Others just hung together because they were wearing black. Okay, but that's exactly the point, you know. And in the real world, people that sometimes don't find, they call misfits, you know, because they don't fit for whatever reason, and they want to attach themselves, and they just cannot see the commonality, you know, or they think that they belong because of some factor in their mind, whereas the group itself is united for a different reason, right? Okay, clearly.
Yes, I don't think anybody else wanted.
I mean, she wanted to go to anybody that had a chord. Well, everybody had a chord. You had to do it in the group. Isn't that lovely? Okay, any other comments? You're wonderful. Let me hear from you. You're extremely interesting. Hold on. I had more fun than you did. Okay. Well, any other comments? All right. On this happy note, we end a few minutes early so you can take a breather and walk out. It's a beautiful evening until your next class. Thank you, and I will see you next week.